We all want a dog that can walk politely on leash and give attention when asked. We want a dog that can walk past distractions and come out and enjoy our life on the town in the city with us. But getting there is quite a process, and it takes a lot of reinforcement with food in order to teach our dogs what we do want. But eventually we all get to the same point, which is, when can we fade off the food reinforcement? What environments will I still need it? And what other kinds of reinforcement can I use to help reward my dog for that nice loose leash? In this video, we're going to talk about something that I love to do, which is use environmental reinforcement in order to reinforce the dog for loose leash walking and attention. I'm Chelsea with Positive Futures Dog Training and Behavior. If you're new to our channel, then welcome, and we hope these videos will help you gain a better relationship with your dog. And if you're returning, welcome back. Let's work on fine-tuning those leash skills. In order to have success with this video, there are some foundations that you and your dog will need to have. You'll need to know how to ask for attention on cue, and your dog will need to have the basic understanding of both loose leash walking and sniffing. So if you haven't already, be sure to check the show notes and check those videos out first. Once the dog has the basic understanding of loose leash walking, there are many ways that we can begin to fade away food reinforcement and add in other forms of reinforcement, including body play, toy play, and access to the environment. But it's always best for us and our owners to have a really big toolbox of reinforcement, because sometimes some forms of reinforcement are more desirable for the dogs, therefore more effective, and sometimes things might be more convenient for us. That's one of the many reasons that I love teaching dogs to sniff on cue. Sniffing is a very natural dog behavior, and dogs normally love checking out their environment. So if we can put this behavior on cue, we can then use this behavior to reinforce passing a distraction or a nice long segment of loose leash walking. It can also help deter the dog from pulling to sniff on their own, because they know that if they're a good dog and pay attention, then they still get access to go do that fun thing. When I first take this behavior of sniffing on cue outside, I actually warm the dog up just like we did inside with the rolled up towel or snuffle mat. I take a handful of treats in my hand, say, "Go sniff," and then toss the handful of food into the grass. I allow the dog a moment to sniff and search for the pieces of food, and remember, you can always click and treat that behavior again, encouraging the dog to continue searching for those pieces of food. The more repetitions of this exercise that the dog has, the more that the excitement to go sniff will increase. In the first few walks, as I use this cue, I use the food to help encourage the dog to access their environment. But over time, simply exploring and sniffing on their own will be reinforcing enough for them. And as the dog starts to pick up on this behavior, I then start to incorporate this behavior of going to sniff in with short repetitions of leash work. We'll do a short spurt of healing with clicking and treating for attention and loose leash, and then I allow the dog to access their environment and click and treat that behavior of sniffing. Then I'll say, "Let's go," or "with me," so the dog knows to get back into heel position with me and we start moving again. If your dog pulls on their own to go sniff without the cue, encourage them to move along with you, then reinforce that attention and motion with you with the ability to go access their environment again. We want to make sure that forward motion and loose leash is reinforced, and we want to make sure that any pulling does not get the dog where they want to go. The more you start asking your dog for eye contact and reinforcing that behavior, the more that you'll notice that they will start to offer that attention on their own. Whenever my dog checks in with me on a walk, that's a really good time for me to give them that go sniff cue and allow them access to that environment. You'll also start to pick up on their preferences on where they'd like to sniff. Mailboxes, trees, and ivy tend to be favorites among my crew. So be sure to keep that in mind and allow them access to those places as reinforcement for good behavior like attention and loose leash walking. While there certainly are still moments where food reinforcement is the best option to reinforce the dogs for attention and loose leash, having as many tools as we can makes us more interesting and exciting for the dogs. It also gives us a lot of flexibility in our training plans. So teaching your dog to sniff on cue can not only help you reduce how much they're pulling you to go sniff, but it can turn you into a more fun and exciting training partner for them. If you need more help on your loose leash walking, shown here by our student Max, you might find this series helpful. This is a 3-part series that breaks loose leash walking down into easy to follow, step-by-step processes so that you too can get a nice dog to take out in public with you. Happy training!